Welcome back to the Law Show. I'm attorney Brian Dailey, broadcasting live from high atop the Law Show studios in the undisputed automobile capital of the world, Detroit, Michigan. We call it Motown, and we are not taking calls today on the Law Show because we are interviewing two candidates for the Michigan Supreme Court race, which is upcoming in November 2012. And we have with us today Judge Connie Marie Kelley of the Wayne County Circuit Court Family Bench, and she handles cases involving family law and custody and child support and divorce and things like that. And we also are speaking today with Judge Shelia Johnson of the 46th Judicial District Court in Southfield. And I want to thank both of you for joining us again today. We have just a short segment left over. We're going to talk a little bit about what you hope to do on the Supreme Court, why you're running, and this whole concept of protection of women and family and children. And so, Judge Kelley, if you could start out a little bit, what was it that caused you to decide, you know what, I'm going to run for the Supreme Court? This can't be an easy thing for you to do.
No, and we all still have our day jobs too. So, we're taking care of our cases and we're campaigning at nights and on weekends, and we've traveled all around the state. We've gone to the Upper Peninsula because we think it's so important to talk about this race. The three of us didn't really know each other before this campaign started, and we've gotten to be great friends, and we have the most respect for each other. And we're sorry that Bridget can't be here today. She's at another event. But our theme, our commercials about protecting families and children isn't just a theme and a commercial. It is really what we do. I was a lawyer for 27 years, and now I've been a judge for 4 years, so I have spent the last 31 years of my career. I fought for women in the workplace to make sure they received equal pay for equal work. I fought to make sure they were able to work in places that were free of sexual harassment. I represented families going through difficult times as a lawyer. I represented, men and women. It's not just women, but men too, who had been fired from their jobs with no cause or who were victims of discrimination. I practiced in courts throughout the state, the Michigan Court of Appeals and the United States Court of Appeals for the Sixth Circuit as well. So I really have been working to protect families and children for 31 years. I started this domestic violence prevention court, and I also co-founded a girls mentoring program for the girls at Cody High School in Detroit, because I want them to know that the world is bigger than the neighborhoods that they live in, and that they have any opportunities open to them as long as they're willing to work hard. So I want to take my passion for making sure that everyone is treated fairly to the Michigan Supreme Court.
Judge Johnson, what caused you to want to take on this this burden, this labor of love to try to run for the Michigan Supreme Court? And how is it you intend to protect families and children and women?
Well, my history, I come to the law a little bit different, from a little bit different viewpoint than Connie, but we share the same goals and the same visions. And my experience is when I was, I came from just about that little time and point in time when things were changing in society. But I started out living in a place when my mother moved back home. She's from Mississippi. And so I started out, as a young baby living in a place where, there wasn't a lot of equality. Things weren't fair. There wasn't a lot of justice for everybody. And as I grew up and we would go back and visit and there was still segregation, I started to see that there was a lot of injustice out there in the country. And so that's really when I think I decided that I wanted a career in law, and I knew that when I was in high school. And so I just decided that if there was ever an opportunity to serve in a capacity where I could have a profound effect on jurisprudence to make sure that things across the board were equal for everybody, not just the rich, not just for people who were majority race, but for everybody, that I would do my best to represent those people's interests first as a lawyer and then possibly as a judge on the court. And so I, like Connie, have dedicated a lot of my time, as I indicated earlier in the show, to representing regular common people and their interests, bringing the types of claims that would hopefully make sure that things were equal for them. Civil rights claims in federal court, I brought also claims, as I said, to protect families and children. I also represented people who couldn't even afford representation. I represented women who needed lawyers, who were at risk, they needed divorces, and I gave of myself and my time. I've also helped to form, I was one of the founders of the Southfield Community Foundation Women's Fund, which specifically takes money and raises money for women and children in our community who are at risk and need a little helping hand. And so that's been my view, that, we are all in this life together, we all bleed the same blood, and we all should have the same equality and rights. And because of the way the decisions of the Supreme Court have seemingly been sort of one-sided, I knew that I could bring a fresh, a common sense, for goodness sake, perspective to the court that's grounded in law and that's going to be one that people can trust the foundation and integrity of those decisions. And I think being a district court judge as well, like I said before, I'm bringing a real human perspective as to the way the law is applied to regular people. Even the court rules and the administrative functions of the court really are issues that the Supreme Court has control over and really affects access of regular people to justice. And so I think having this broad perspective and view that I'm bringing, I can have a huge impact not only in the way cases are decided, but on the overall administration of justice that the Supreme Court has control over and that presides over.
Well, thank you very much, Judge Johnson and Judge Kelley, for joining me today. If you have any final comments, if you'd like to say anything, we're about to end our show today, and we really would appreciate you coming and talking to us about it. Please don't be constricted by time. Go ahead and tell the listeners what it is you really want them to know about why the current Supreme Court can't be trusted to protect women and children and families, and why you can.
Well, I think one has to study the decisions of the court, and there are many that we could talk about, but I know we're almost out of time. But I think what you can look at is our history and the people that are supporting us in this election, and it tells you a lot about who we are. You could go to my website, which is Connie Kelley, Kelley, forjustice.com, and I have a Facebook page, which is Judge Connie Kelley, Kelley, and you'll see the kind of people that are supporting me, who all of us are supported by, and I think that tells you about the kind of people that we are and the kind of justices that we will make.
And also on my website, which is Judge Shelia Johnson, Shelia Johnson.com, I actually have a list of some of the questionable cases that the Supreme Court has decided that I think people will find of interest because they don't really understand how these decisions have impacted their everyday lives. And I can only pledge to you that I will, as I know my colleagues will, have an open mind and will make sure that everybody's voice is heard, and that we're not going to make any decisions just purely based upon a political decision or based upon special interest association. We are for what's right for the people, and we will stand by that and our histories as judges and as lawyers that have been at bench and that have had a wonderful, I think, careers for over 30 years for just about each of us.
Well, thank you very much, judges. I really appreciate you joining me on the show today. I'd like to give you an open invitation to come back when you have designation as justices, which I'm certain you will, and God willing you will, and come back and talk to us and let us know how things are going anytime. If as you campaign, anything comes up you'd like to get out on the airwaves, please just give us a call and we'll make sure that our listeners know all about what's going on. My name is Brian Dailey. I'm broadcasting live from high atop the Law Show studios in the undisputed automobile capital of the world, Detroit, Michigan. We call it Motown. This has been the Law Show. We have not taken calls on the air today because we wanted to interview these very important candidates for the Michigan Supreme Court race in 2012, Judge Connie Marie Kelley of the Wayne County Circuit Court Family Bench and Judge Shelia Johnson of the 46th Judicial District Court. Two great judges, two great justices in the making. We urge you to support them in their candidacy, and we are sorry that the other candidates did not show up, and two of them didn't actually bother to call us. So if you have legal questions, call 855-LAW-SHOW. We have lawyers standing by. Until next week, we'll see you then.